There's a quiet struggle that many people live with every day. You wake up knowing what you should do with plans and goals, and you care about them. But when it's time to actually start, something doesn't feel right. Scrolling through your phone feels effortless. Opening your apps and checking notifications comes naturally, but starting that important task you've been thinking about for so long feels like lifting a heavy weight. Most people label this as laziness. But is it really laziness? Laziness implies a lack of desire, a lack of motivation, or simply avoiding work. But if you were truly lazy, you wouldn't feel conflicted. You wouldn't feel frustrated. You wouldn't feel disappointed in yourself for not getting things done. So, why does it feel so hard to act when you care about your goals? The discomfort you feel when trying to focus isn't about laziness. It's a signal from your brain. It's a deeper issue tied to how your brain processes effort and reward. Your mind is constantly calculating effort, and over time, those calculations determine what feels easy and what feels exhausting. This isn't about pushing yourself harder or forcing motivation. It's about understanding why discipline feels so difficult and realizing that this feeling has less to do with who you are than most people think. Discipline is not a personality trait. We often treat discipline like a moral quality. Some people are disciplined, others are not. But the brain doesn't work on moral judgments. It works on efficiency. Every action you consider is automatically evaluated by your brain, not consciously but biologically. Your brain asks, is this worth the energy? Every decision about effort is assessed based on how much energy will it take, how certain the reward is, and how long you'll have to wait. High-effort tasks with uncertain payoffs cause hesitation, while low-effort tasks with immediate rewards create momentum. This isn't a flaw, it's survival logic. For most of human history, conserving energy was essential. Wasting effort could mean jeopardizing your survival, so your brain evolved to avoid unnecessary work. The problem isn't that your brain is outdated, but that the world around you has changed much faster than your biology can keep up. Your brain didn't forget how to work hard. It learned that effort is no longer required to feel rewarded. In today's world, rewards are immediate, entertainment is constant, and food is at your fingertips, all requiring little to no effort. This creates a shift in how your brain handles effort. It learned that instant gratification is available, so the brain no longer expects effort to be a requirement for a reward. Tasks that demand sustained attention, like reading, exercising, or focusing on difficult work, now feel unusually hard. This isn't weakness, it's adaptation. Your brain and nervous system are responding logically to the environment they're in. To fully understand this shift, we need to look at dopamine. Dopamine is often described as the pleasure chemical, but that's misleading. Dopamine isn't about pleasure itself, it's about anticipation. Dopamine is released when your brain predicts that something might be rewarding. This is why scrolling through social media is so engaging. Every swipe holds the possibility of something interesting. Your brain releases dopamine to keep you searching, even though the reward is uncertain. The uncertainty of what comes next keeps the system engaged. But here's the catch. When you're constantly exposed to high-intensity, easy rewards, your brain's dopamine system becomes less sensitive. This process is called downregulation, and it's how the brain regulates stimulation. Over time, when the brain is exposed to too much easy stimulation, it begins to reduce the sensitivity to dopamine. This means tasks that once felt engaging and motivating now feel dull. Sustained attention becomes uncomfortable, and effort starts to feel unusually heavy. This doesn't mean your brain is malfunctioning. It means it's adapting to the environment. It's learning that easy rewards are abundant, and effortful tasks no longer yield immediate rewards. This is why you can feel restless and frustrated even when trying to focus. Now, this is where willpower often fails. The common advice is to just try harder, to be more disciplined, and to use willpower. But the problem is that willpower operates on the conscious level, while your brain's reward system operates automatically beneath the surface. When these systems are misaligned, conscious intention almost always loses. You may have the desire to work out, you may care deeply about your goals, but if your brain predicts that the effort won't yield a sufficient reward, resistance appears automatically. This is not because you're weak, It's because your brain has learned a pattern where effort doesn't feel rewarding. This brings us to the core issue: reward misalignment. It's not that dopamine is the problem, it's how the brain's reward system is misaligned with modern life. Pleasure is immediate, external, and fleeting, while satisfaction requires effort, progress, and delayed rewards. In the modern world, we're constantly consuming instant pleasure, but rarely experiencing the delayed gratification that comes from effort and accomplishment. You can spend your entire day entertained and distracted, but still feel empty or unfulfilled at night. This isn't because you failed, it's because your brain is conditioned to expect easy rewards, and it hasn't learned that satisfaction comes from sustained effort. This is why discipline feels hard. The system that registers satisfaction is underused. When effort is unrecognized by the brain as rewarding, it no longer feels worth it. Now, people often talk about a dopamine reset, but it's not about removing dopamine or pleasure. It's about reducing the intensity of artificial stimulation. Imagine walking into a dark room after being in the bright sunlight. At first, everything seems dim, but there's nothing wrong with your eyes. They're simply adjusting. The same happens with your brain. When you reduce constant, high-intensity stimulation, your brain begins to recalibrate. This process may feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel restless, irritable, or even bored. But this discomfort is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that your brain is learning and adjusting to a more natural state. When the brain recalibrates, something subtle begins to shift. Tasks that once felt heavy, like opening a book, starting a project, or getting out of bed to exercise, begin to feel less resistant. This doesn't mean that effort becomes easy, but rather that effort becomes familiar. Your brain prefers what it knows, and repeated effort becomes predictable. Predictability reduces resistance. Discipline doesn't become effortless, but it becomes natural. This is how discipline becomes a habit, not because it's easier, but because your brain rewires itself to prefer it. The environment around you plays a key role in this process. Your brain follows the path of least resistance. If distractions are easily available, they will be chosen. If starting a task is easy, it becomes sustainable. This is why your environment matters. Small conveniences and small barriers can shape your behavior far more effectively than willpower or motivation alone. Additionally, the people around you influence your brain's patterns. Behavior is contagious. When you're surrounded by people who prioritize stimulation and distractions, your baseline shifts. But when you're surrounded by people who prioritize focus, effort, and work, your brain adapts to that too. This isn't about abandoning relationships. It's about being intentional with your environment and the influences that shape your behavior. The people you surround yourself with play a significant role in shaping the patterns your brain follows. So the next time you find discipline hard, don't assume it's because you're weak or lacking willpower. It's because your brain has learned a reward pattern that no longer serves you. But the good news is that learning can change. The brain can recalibrate. As you repeatedly engage in effortful tasks, those tasks become more familiar, and discipline becomes a preference. It's not about forcing yourself to work harder. It's about teaching your brain that effort can lead to meaningful reward. So, as you move forward, remember, discipline doesn't have to feel like a constant struggle. It can become natural, not because it's easy, but because your brain finally agrees with the process. If you found this video insightful and are ready to rewire your habits, don't forget to like this video, comment below on how you overcome resistance, and subscribe to the Knownsense for more practical tips on self-improvement and understanding how your brain works. Let's learn and grow together.